Patrick Towell. I'm co-founder and joint chief executive of a company called Gallant Media Ventures, and we're an innovation agency that work in the creative industries. One of the things that joins all the creative industries or the creative economy is products and services which are monetised through the holding of intellectual property rights.
My name's Stefan Knox. I'm the founding director of a company called Bang Creations Limited. As a commercially creative guy, I guess that's the label that's put on me. I always think about IP when I'm developing an idea. When I'm coming up with ideas, unless I'm doing it for a college or a charity, I'm more concerned about making sure that this idea has got legs to go. And that means it's got something tangible about it, which means it's got IP.
We have a whole range of options of what those intellectual property rights could be. They could be copyright in written documents, copyright in business models, copyright in designs, in software, in other technologies. There may be some highly inventive parts within those, usually software, that are patentable. And we have clients where we've helped them through some of that process. There are also maybe some fantastic names, phrases, logos, or other kind of bits of graphics that end up being trademarkable, not just because you have invested a lot of time and money in them and they're great, but also that you will do, and so you need a way of defending them. Another thing that's forgotten in this whole area of data and metadata and content is that there may well be some database rights which are not copyright, but they're absolutely critical as well.
My name's Alan Ward. I'm a director of Alan Ward Consulting, and we're a business improvement consultancy. Well, the first thing we do, I'm afraid, is play devil's advocate, so we challenge. It's important to understand the commercial viability of an idea before you start spending too much money on it. IP in the software world and the virtual world is very complex. To be honest, you really need to speak to a specialist. There are specialists out there. Generally speaking, a qualified patent attorney or qualified trademark attorney can help. Patents are rarely relevant in this scenario because it's a virtual style product, but they can be, particularly on sort of firmware and hardware more than software. I think in the creative industries generally, you're better off looking at things like design registration, copyright and trademark than you are patents, because patents are for a device rather than something which is softer and more creative. And the nice thing about things like design registration, often people don't even know that exists, but it's a lot less expensive than patent, and it can be far more far-reaching in terms of Europe than a patent can be.
There's a huge amount of times that we see inventors come to us with an idea that they've had protected in some way. And then that idea has been protected so early on in its development path that you're channeled down a road of development, where actually you need to make sure that the concept you've got is marketable, it answers all the questions. Can you make it? Is it green? Can you get it to market? Does everybody in the supply chain benefit? Does the consumer really understand its proposition? And the answers to these questions often change your original idea, and then the protection that you've got around it doesn't stand up anymore. So I always say talk IP early and learn what needs to be protected, get your proposition to a marketable, ready state, and then protect it. That's the way I work.
Typically when you're at the stages that we're discussing, so early stage or startup, then you haven't got much money and you've got to make sure that whatever money you spend, you get maximum value from. So what we would do is address it really broad level, top level stuff, helicopter view if you like, looking at the market, looking at the ideas, looking at the competition, and really challenge whether that idea's got value before anybody starts spending any money. So I know there's always a tendency that they've had the great idea, they want to launch themselves into protecting it. I would always say, and this is what we do regularly, is to ensure that that idea has legs before you even start. And that doesn't mean going down the pub to talk to your friends, because they'll always typically say, yes, we like it. That means getting a network of trusted professionals who are willing to be objective and say to you, what about this, what about that, what about the other? As I tell you, for an example, too often people have rung me up and said, I've got this idea, I've taken it to patent, can you help me develop it and take it forward? and you can look on Google within 10 seconds and find pretty much the same product already out there. And that's a depressing conversation.
Your thought process, whether it's copyright, whether it's trademark, whether it's branding, or if you can even get it to the stage of having a patent, then that's great. So think it early, but what we say is talk IP early, don't act IP early.
I think my top 2 tips for someone approaching me with in that circumstance, so they've had an idea, is to go away and do your research. Always, always, always. Become familiar as you can with all the aspects that affect you, the market, the potential customers, the competition and intellectual property. Then, the next stage, I would say, find a group of trusted professionals, befriend them and start to involve them in the development. It doesn't mean spending money, it just means ensuring you get nice, solid, objective advice before you start spending money and taking things forward.